everyone, welcome to the course on medical biomaterials. Today we are going to start on a different material, that is polymers. Polymers are most ubiquitous and we can have different combinations, blends, different sizes, shapes and so on. So, polymers have become very useful in the area of biomaterials next to metals, I would say, and sometimes maybe they may even replace metals at some points, because nowadays polymers of very high strength are being designed. Okay. So, what are these polymers? These are long chain molecules containing repeat units. Okay. So, these are very long chain. So, the molecular weight may vary from maybe about a couple of thousand going right up to 100,000, 200,000. Okay. So, hundreds of kilodaltons. Polyethylenes could be in that range. We can have some glucons which are about 2000 daltons. So, polymers have wide range of molecular weights and they have repeating units which is called mers. Okay. So, that is why you have monomer, oligomer and so on. So, single mer is called a monomer. So, there are natural polymers like cellulose, glucon, starches, natural rubber, even DNA would call it a natural polymer. Okay. So, many of these natural polymers are also used in biomaterial applications because they are biocompatible, they will not exhibit any toxicity, and in addition synthetic polymers, hundreds of synthetic polymers have come already into the use. There is something called a polymerization reaction. Okay. So, that is the reaction which converts these monomers into polymers. So, we can have a single monomer. So, we will have a polymer of the same monomer, or we can have two monomers. So, we will have polymer of two of the monomers. Okay. So, we can have dimerization and so on, monomerization and so on actually. Okay. So, we can have combinations of more than one monomer to get polymers. Then later on we can blend different polymers, hydrophobic, hydrophilic polymers to get products of different properties. Okay. And that is why polymers have become very, very useful. So, the polymers are classified originally thermoplastics, thermosets and elastomers. Okay. Thermoplastics. So, they are held together by relatively weak intermolecular forces. Okay. And they have little cross linking and they are ductile. They softens with heating and then when we cool it, again they return back to their original condition. So, that is the advantage, we can soften it by heating and when you cool it they become in the old form, like your polyethylene, polypropylene, linear low density polyethylene, insulation material, all these are called thermoplastic. That means when I heat it, thermo means temperature, right, plastic. So, when I heat it, it becomes like a plastic and then when we cool it, it sets. Whereas thermosets, they have large cross linking, they are very hard and brittle, unlike thermoplastics which are ductile, they do not soften while heating. Okay. So, once we set it, after that we cannot change their shape. Okay. Unlike the thermoplastic, thermosets we cannot change the shape once they are set, like your vulcanized rubber, polyester resin and so on actually. So, they are used in automobile constructions, toys, etc. And of course, there are many applications in biomaterial where you have thermosets where you do not want to soften the material, we want a hard material. Okay. Then you have elastomers, these are rubbery polymers. Okay. Elastomers are like rubber, they are highly flexible, elastic, like your silicone. Silicone has got a lot of applications historically in the area of biomaterials because they are very rubbery, flexible, silicone tubes, urethral tubes, breast implants and so on, quite a lot of applications. So, polymers are basically divided based on whether they are thermoplastic, that means they soften and again they get hard once it is cooled, or thermosets where it does not soften, once it is set and then the elastomers which are rubbery type of. Okay. Again polymers can be divided in two forms, natural form natural polymers, synthetic polymers like your polysaccharides, starch, alginate, chitin, chitosan, glucon, they are all sugars, lot of sugars. Other natural is protein, collagen, fibrin, silk. So, as you can see, these natural polymers are produced either by bacteria, fungus, or from plant derived sources. Okay. So, and animal derived sources. So, we have all these are natural polymers. Okay. And a lot of natural polymers are also used in biomaterial application. For example, if you look at starch, quite a lot of cyclodextrin, they are used in drug delivery system. Chitin, chitosan, they are used in ligaments. Okay. Polysaccharides are also used in drug delivery system. Okay. Proteins you are used in coating biomaterials to make the material biocompatible. Sometimes for tissue engineering, the scaffolds are made with the collagen, silk. So, polymers or natural polymers are used widely, but then natural polymers have a lot of disadvantages also. Although they are biocompatible, they have this biological recognition property. That means when they are implanted inside the body, the host system is very comfortable having that. You have good cell adhesion and differentiation, but they have poor mechanical properties. Of course, immunogenicity, they have immunogenic properties because some of them could be bacterial or even animal, which could cause certain immune response. Okay. So, for example, bovine serum albumin, for example, or even your chitosan, for example, or collagen, for example, because they are animal derived, there is always worry that there could be some contamination coming from the animal, especially the collagen. Okay. They also have limited supply. So, we cannot produce in tons and tons because they are if they are animal derived, it becomes difficult because the animals have to be sacrificed to get that sort of product. Bacterial, of course, if you have very good fermentation technology, bacterial derived polymers could be made in tons and tons of it. For example, linear glucon is made in large quantities using bacteria. Now, if you come to synthetic polymers, they are made chemically like any organic molecule. We can make these synthetic polymers, the monomers are made, and then the polymerization reaction is carried out to arrive at synthetic polymers like polylactic acid, polylactic glycolic acid, polycaprolactone, polymethyl methacrylate, polyethylene glycol, and so on. So, all these are synthetically derived polymers, and as you can see, some of them are hydrophobic, some of them are hydrophilic. Okay, so, we have wide range of hydrophobicity, hydrophilicity. Some of them have thermosetting properties, some of them are thermoplastic properties. Okay, some of them prevent bacterial adhesion, some of them do not prevent, some of them are biodegradable. Okay, like your polylactic acid, some of them are non-biodegradable like your polyethylenes. So, we can in the same polymer family we can have different properties. Of course, some of the mechanical properties are not as good as metals, okay, but still they can really augment the metals. For example, synthetic polymer coating is done on drug eluting stent. Okay, the stent has a synthetic polymer coating, the polymer degrades and elutes out the drug. If you are talking about drug delivery in some orthopedic issues, then we have biodegradable polymers. Okay. We cannot have a biodegradable metal, so we need to have a biodegradable polymer. So, for drug delivery applications, slow release systems, scaffolds which can completely disappear, bioresorbed, then of course nothing to beat polymers. So, polymers have great future and great application. They have good mechanical properties. Of course, when compared to metals, they are nowhere. Degradation rate can be modified. We can make it say days, or we can make it weeks or even years. Okay. So, that is the beauty of it. Some polymers are hydrophobic. So, the problem is bacteria can attach. They lack cell adhesion signals because cells can adhere if they identify the polymer as their host, unlike the natural ones. Degradation products, for example, if polylactic acid degrades, it may give out a little bit of lactic acid which may be a little bit acidic. Okay. So, that problem is there, which can lead to inflammation, cell death, tissue necrosis and all that. So, that also can happen because some polymers can degrade a little bit and give out some acidic. For example, if you take polymethyl methacrylate, so it is obtained from methyl acrylic acid, okay, or methyl methacrylate. For example, there could be some little bit of acrylic acid present maybe in ppm or even ppb, which is not fully polymerized. So, there could be some little bit of leaching of that. Take polycarbonate, which is very strong, it is even called engineering plastic, it is as strong as many metals. In fact, shatterproof glasses, for example, are made with the polycarbonate. Okay. They are extremely strong, even bulletproof glasses are made with polycarbonate, but the problem is polycarbonate is made up of, okay, some chemicals, okay, like diphenyl carbonate, okay, and bisphenol A, and little bit of bisphenol A, even small ppm or even less than that. Unreacted is present, and if it starts leaching out, and there are some worries about the bisphenol A causing endocrine disorders and so on actually. So, that could be one problem with synthetic polymers. If there is a very small amount of unreacted monomer present which could be toxic to the system, or if there are any degradation products which could be toxic, or leaching out leachants which could be toxic, then that could be problematic when it is used as a biomaterial. So, there are a lot of advantages and a few disadvantages which needs to be addressed when you are using synthetic polymers. Okay. So, we have both the natural which are also used in biomaterial applications like your collagen, starch, dextrin, polysaccharides, exopolysaccharides, and we have the synthetic material which are widely used. Okay. Now, I am going to show you some pictures of where polymers are used. These are courtesy from many medical centers, hospitals with which I am having collaboration. For example, this is a poly L-lactic acid, okay, and this is called anterior cruciate ligament screw. This is so this is used especially if there is a ligament tear, sports related injury for example, okay. So, near the human knee actually. So, it runs diagonally in the middle of the knee. So, this is used to repair that. Look at this. When there is a fracture and the bones are far apart, so non-union site exposed, so temporarily they keep a polymethyl methacrylate spacer, and this is the titanium plate. You can see this polymethyl methacrylate, okay. And once it is healed, that polymethyl methacrylate spacer is removed. Antibiotic loaded PMMA bead, especially in orthopedic surgery, there is a lot of problems about infection. So, they keep these polymethyl methacrylate beads impregnated with say meropenem. It is a very good antibiotic, as you can see here. It is kept inside until all the infection for a couple of weeks, maybe until the infection completely goes, and then these beads are removed. Okay. So, because polymethyl methacrylate is not degradable, so once the drug is eluted, it has to be removed. Okay. So, this is some of these pictures are courtesy from Christian Medical Center, that is called CMC Vellore in near Chennai. Look at this. This is called a double J polyurethane urethral stent. This is used near the bladder and ureter connection. Okay. There is an ureter here which connects the bladder, ureter, and the urine flows through this. Okay. And if there is a blockage and the urine does not flow, they need to place this. This is made up of polyurethane. It is very, very flexible, as you can see here, okay, and it remains inside the body for a couple of weeks, or even going right up to 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. So, it faces quite a lot of harsh environment here, because of the flow of urine. You may have salts, calcium oxalate and magnesium type of salts. You may have E. coli, protease, merobilase, like the bacteria. So, salt encrustation and bacterial infection are a very serious problem here. So, these are polylactic glycolic acid urethral stents. Polyurethane is not biodegradable. So, these stents have to be removed once the infection is completely gone here. So, these are some designs of polylactic glycolic acid urethral stent, okay, which can slowly degrade in 4 to 6 weeks, and so hopefully you do not have to do another surgery to remove these stents. Okay. So, these are biodegradable hopefully. This courtesy from Sri Ramachandra Medical College Hospital in Chennai. Look at this, these are shunt, BT shunt it is called, it is used near the heart region. These are made up of, this is made up of polytetrafluoroethylene. Okay. So, if you take the heart here, for example, this is the pulmonary artery, this is going to lungs. So, this is the, we will call it the bad blood which goes to the lungs, and it gets oxygen, okay, and then they come back to the heart, and then later on the blood is pumped to the aortic branch going to various parts of the body. This is going down and this is going up to the upper side of the body. What happens is if there is a leakage inside in the heart, the blood does not go to the lungs to get oxygen, the blood gets short circuited. So, the patient do not get oxygen, and sometimes if it is a pediatric patient, they become slightly blue. This is called a blue baby syndrome, and this problem can arise especially in a pediatric. That means a child could be born with this problem. There could be a small hole in the connecting chambers. Okay, so, the blood, instead of going to the pulmonary artery to the lungs, gets short circuited and go to aorta. So, there might not be enough oxygen. So, what they do is they attach this PTFE, polytetrafluoroethylene BT shunt they call it. So, between the pulmonary and the subclavian artery, it diverts the blood from the aortic branch to the pulmonary artery, allowing the blood to flow to the lungs to receive oxygen. Okay. So, once this is done, the blood gets enough oxygen, and so the pediatric patient also recovers. Otherwise, if there is insufficient oxygen in the blood, the patient looks slightly blue in color because the blood does not have enough oxygen. So, that was also called the blue baby syndrome, and when they discovered this new treatment or operating procedure, they were able to save a lot of babies okay, by attaching this polytetrafluoroethylene shunt here. Okay. Now, one problem with this is as the baby grows, the rest of the body grows, but this PTFE shunt size remains the same. This could be in millimeter range. So, they may have to conduct another operation to have a bigger diameter shunt. So, that is a big problem here. They do this because the babies may be too small to conduct an open heart surgery. If the child becomes older and can is able to sustain an open heart surgery, then the doctors open the heart and patch up the hole that is present inside the chamber. Okay. So, once the hole is patched up, then the blood will definitely go into the pulmonary artery to the lungs to get sufficient amount of oxygen. So, when the operation cannot be conducted because the baby may be too small, operation means I am talking about open heart surgery, then they temporarily put this. Temporarily, when I say temporarily, it may last for few years until the baby is older, stronger, for it to undergo an open heart surgery. Okay. So, this is made up of PTFE, polytetrafluoroethylene. This is an angiogram, you can see that, okay, in the angiogram. Okay. Angiogram is nothing but they pass a dye and they are able to see the flow of the blood because the dye can be viewed from outside. Okay. This is a courtesy from a hospital called Madras Medical Mission in Chennai. Okay. So, as you can see, I am showing you a lot of pictures of polymers where finding applications in different areas of the biomaterial research. Okay. This is a cross-linked polyethylene. It is used for total knee replacement surgery. So, we have cobalt chromium metals, okay, cobalt chromium molybdenum. So, we have the rotating ball and socket like, and so polyethylene finds application there because they do not want to have a metal on metal, that is both ball and socket being metal on metal. They have one of them as polymer. So, the attrition rate will be much less, whereas metal on metal could lead to a lot of metal debris. Like if you remember, we did a problem in the previous class, the amount of cobalt ions that get released per year. Okay. So, polymers are used mostly polyethylene, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene is used here, as you can see in this picture, for the knee replacement surgery. This is a courtesy from CMC Vellore. Okay. So, lot of applications polymers have: surgical devices, implants. I showed you so many examples, drug delivery systems. Okay. So, you want to slow release antibiotics, we can coat surfaces with carriers of immobilized enzymes and cells. Okay. So, we can have delivery systems, we can have immunomodulators and other growth factors which needs to be delivered, very targeted drug delivery to particular cells, maybe cancerous cells or tumors, then polymers are very important. Biosensors. Okay. So, we can have biosensors made up of polymer, bioadhesives. Okay. Nowadays, there is a lot of interest in can I join after an operation surfaces of the skin rather than having a ocular devices like your eye implant, ocular implant, contact lenses, dental materials, polymethyl methacrylate, acrylic acid, dental cements. So, all these are made up of polymers. Surface modification. Okay. So, we can modify metal surfaces by coating with polymers. We can have polymer inserts to avoid metal on metal rubbing. We can have inserts to prevent dissimilar bimetallic current being produced, and so on. Components of diagnostic assays, tissue adhesives, materials for orthopedic and tissue engineering application. I showed you a lot of pictures related to orthopedic and tissue applications. Okay. So, lot of applications of polymers in medicine, okay, which cannot be carried out by any other material. Okay. So, I will show you, we will talk about a little bit on some of these polymers. Polymethyl methacrylate, it is extremely useful, it is used in dental, ocular applications, okay, hard contact lenses, intraocular lenses, orthodontic applications, good light transmittant. So, they are able to transmit light. Okay. So, it is quite tough, stable, and it is very stable especially in oral environment, and they also look almost like the teeth. That is why in dental applications we find a lot of these polymethyl methacrylate. Polyhema, hydroxy ethyl methyl, okay, product. Okay. Ethyl methyl is extremely, because it is hydroxy, it is extremely hydrophilic. So, it is used in soft contact lenses. As you know, contact lenses have to be hydrophilic and they should be able to take in a lot of moisture. That is why, especially if the moisture content of the eyes goes down, eyes can become red and irritable. That is why polyhema is used, and especially in soft contact lenses, because they are quite flexible, unlike the hard contact lenses which can be used only for few hours, then the eyes become red, it has to be removed, whereas soft contact lenses can be used for much longer duration. Okay. That is the advantage of polyhema. High density polyethylene, it is used quite a lot in knee, especially in the area of ball and socket there, you know, good, tough, low cost. It is used in tubing for drains in catheters, urinary catheters, okay, different types of tracheal catheters. So, HDPE is used, artificial hips, HDPE is used. Then comes polyvinyl chloride. This is extremely inert material, smooth, it is hard and brittle, it becomes flexible and soft by adding plasticizers. As you know, especially the insulator on top of electrical cables, they always have PVC. It is used in blood transfusion, feeding, dialysis. Okay. One big problem is long duration, some of the plasticizers like phthalates are used to make it flexible. They may start leaching out into the body fluid, which may have adverse reaction with the cells, and it may cause toxicity. That is one big problem with the PVC. For long duration, it is not very advisable, because the plasticizers that are added could be creating problem. So, it is good for short duration applications like your dialysis, blood transfusion, which may be few hours. PLGA, polylactic glycolic acid. So, it contains two different monomers, lactic acid, glycolic acid. So, you produce a polymer with these. So, we can have different combinations, lactic to glycolic. So, if I have very large glycolic, I can have a fast biodegradation. If I have more lactic, I can have slow biodegradation. Okay. So, we can have different ratios and get different products. So, these are surgical sutures. Once upon a time, sutures are made up of nylon, which are very strong and they were not biodegradable. So, when there was an external wound, doctors used to bring those skin together and suture with the nylon, and once the wound has healed, they will pull the nylon out. So, the doctor have to perform one more slight operation. But here PLGA is bioresorbable, so it will completely disappear. So, we do not have to go to the doctor again. PLGA is quite strong and tough, and it is bioresorbed completely. So, we do not have to go again to remove it. Polyurethanes, extremely flexible and inert, they are almost like a rubber. So, vascular grafts, heart assist balloon pumps, diaphragms, heart diaphragms, pacemakers. So, everywhere PU is used, polyurethane. So, there is a lot of business for polyurethane also. So, some of these polymers, I would say polymethyl methacrylate, polyurethanes, they have good applications, wide ranging applications in the area of biomaterial. Okay. And HEMA, extremely hydrophilic, and they absorb quite a lot of moisture. Okay. So, they are used in contact lenses or even wound dressings, because they can swell and absorb a lot of moisture, especially wounds after burn. HEMA is good. If you want a very tough material like a polyethylene, which are used in knee replacement and such type of strong applications. PVC is inert material, and but the problem is you have these plasticizers which may leach out. So, it is good for short duration application. Okay. So, PVC is meant only for short duration applications, whereas PMMA for example, polyurethane, HDPE, they are used for much longer duration applications also. Okay. So, we will continue more on the polymers in the next class also. Thank you very much.